Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. My name is Paul. I am the Country Hipster. We are in the Ottsville Record Garage as we usually are. That music you heard was none other than the Unholy Four and their hit song Dirty Knife. They are from Charlottesville, Virginia, so go check out the Unholy Four on Instagram, Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, and wherever you can find the Unholy Four. As we do here every week, we get right to the business, and this week it's very important business. Saturday and Sunday is St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I am playing with the Birmingham Six all weekend. Saturday, we are at the Bristol AOH on Corson Street in Bristol, PA. That is the 16th. We are there from noon until like 8 or 9 o'clock. We're going to be there all day. We're playing in the basement. There's another band playing upstairs. There's a free buffet. It's family friendly. This is post the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then Sunday, the big day, St. Patrick's Day, Birmingham Six can be seen at both Dooney's locations in New Jersey. We will be at Delran in Delran, New Jersey, Dooney's in Delran from noon till 4 p.m. And then we'll be at Dooney's in Voorhees, New Jersey from 5 to 9 p.m. So you can catch the Birmingham Six all weekend long. Speaking of the Birmingham Six, as you see, I've got some guests here. To my immediate left is the drummer of Birmingham Six, my good friend from high school even. This is Mr. Brian Kelly on the drums. And then on the Max Headroom box is our fiddle extraordinaire, Joe Arnold. So guys, thank you. Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast.
Hello.
Yes. So how's everything going?
It's going.
Mm-hmm. Joe, how about for you?
Yeah. I'm doing great, thanks.
Cool. We just pretty much spent last weekend together, and we're getting ready to spend next weekend together, and now we're doing this podcast here. James and Barry had other things to do, or they just don't want to be on the podcast, which is fine too. But as I mentioned, as we mention every week, actually, we are a drinking podcast with a vinyl record problem. And since this is March and we're St. Patrick's season is among us, Brian, what are you drinking there?
I'm drinking a Murphy Stout, as you can see, right in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I'll be needing another one soon, pretty much.
That's good. They go down smooth.
They do. They're really good.
Murphy's is probably like when it comes down, and I've talked about this on the podcast, when it comes down between Murphy's and Guinness, Murphy's is my preferred stout.
Really? Wow.
Yes, it really is. But what I saw when I was picking up the Murphy's, and I saw this in the beer distributor, and it's called Forged Irish Stout.
How is that?
That is fucking delicious. It is actually pretty amazing. It's from Dublin. I'd never even heard of it. I just saw it, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me get it. It's a 4.5% stout.
Zoom in on this.
Yeah,
oh wait, no,
right.
we can't.
We can't. We're not.
Zoom in
on
that.
Yeah, we're not.
We'll do this. We'll do this.
You know,
yeah.
we're not high
tech.
Tech. Thank you. I
Yeah,
couldn't think of the word. This isn't. This isn't Channel One. This is
skilled.
Yes, we're not even skilled. But yeah, this is pretty good. It's a very smooth. It's actually even smoother than Murphy's.
Really?
So I'm gonna go to a Murphy's next. After this to kind of compare the two, because this may be in the running for a new favorite Irish stout. So Joe, what are you drinking there, sir?
Seltzer water.
Seltzer water, yes.
Plain old club soda.
So there have been a few times on the podcast where I've actually gone through. Back in August, I was doing a complete sugar detox, so I wasn't drinking at all. I think I had some friends in town, so I think the one weekend I did drink a little bit, but I was doing that. And then in January I was doing dry January, which really ended up being mostly dry January, but I think we kind of settled on moist January is what my January ended up being. So yes, we are a drinking podcast with the vinyl record problem, but it doesn't necessarily mean we have to drink. And Joe, actually at the show yesterday that we played, you revealed you have been sober for 2 years now, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Over 2 years. Hearing you talk about beer brings back really fond memories. I used to brew my own beer, and I was a craft beer aficionado, and I loved going to different breweries and trying out all the niche, weird beers that everybody had. It was a lot of fun. But it got to the point where it was too much fun, and I wasn't sleeping at night, but because of the beer at times, and it would wake me up in the middle of the night. And I just thought, I gotta try something new, and so I stopped drinking, and I feel a lot better. And I've also been doing the no sugar thing. I'm on the ketogenic diet,
Oh wow!
so
Yeah.
it really sparked a whole health journey for me, and I feel great.
I
I do miss some of those craft beers though.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and but I gotta say too, like honestly, I knew you weren't drinking. I knew for a while you would stop drinking. I didn't realize it was for 2 years ago, but I could say that like the changes that you made, like you were always a fit guy. I'd even go so far as to say you were toned, but like since like seeing you. Like over, especially over the last year, man, you've gotten fucking ripped.
Yeah.
Like I've seen like your arms. Like
Yeah,
I
you're
haven't
on
seen
it.
you without your shirt on,
Which is
obviously.
secret, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But no, I've seen like you've written, and I imagine that has to do with
Yeah,
like
man.
you were saying, no sugar and like the no drinking and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all part of yeah. I mean, I've always been interested in being healthy and that kind of thing, and the drinking was like the biggest sort of red flag in my life. And once I got rid of that, it opened up a space for all these new healthy activities. I love doing strength training now. I do kettlebell. I just started doing mixed martial arts. So it's really fun. I feel great.
That's great.
good.
That is great.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even though we drink and we're a drinking podcast, and sometimes we drink a little too much on the podcast, and we have our booze and vinyl episodes, doesn't mean that like people should just drink. Like I'm not a proponent of like just go out and get fucked up, because that's just fucking stupid. And if you need to stop drinking, you should stop drinking. And hopefully, Joe, we've been supportive for you with that. Which
Totally.
is play. And if you need to stop drinking, talk to your friends, talk to somebody, like maybe or just make the decision. Just be like, hey, I'm done drinking for a little while, and there's nothing wrong with that. But which actually, it's funny because you're talking about all the other different stuff you do, which kind of leads me to the next thing. I see that poster on the back of your wall there for Soul Force Arts. You want to tell us about that a little bit, Joe?
Sure. Yeah. Soul Force
Thank you,
Arts
Ryan.
I'll do this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a project that I've been working on for the past a few years now. So I'm actually writing a book. It's called Soul Force: How to Discover Your Artistic Purpose, Create More Freely, and Make Art That Matters. And in this book and in the Soul Force Arts project, I'm basically asking, the world is in like a difficult place. There's a lot of turbulence and chaos, and, climate change and political strife and all these kinds of things. And what can we do as artists, as musicians? What's ours to do? So often the arts get short shrift in society at large. Like the arts are like a nice hobby, an extra thing in life.
Yes.
But and this can be really depressing for a lot of artists. You're like, well, where does that leave us in terms of like how to make a contribution to the world? And so I'm basically writing this book on how to make a really positive contribution by getting in touch with the sort of living creative force within, what I call soul force, and then creating really live, beautiful, transformative kind of art. Nice. So the book is about how to do that.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
I teach
Great
that
job.
through my Soul Force Arts Institute. Yeah.
And you also you have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and I make blog posts, and I'm a busy boy with all of this. And I actually have an online community that I just started. It's a part community, part learning platform. So I'll be teaching my Soul Force Arts techniques in that, and people who are interested in my book can actually pre-order it now.
Awesome.
You
Where
can go to my website, soulforcearts.com.
soulforcearts.com. You can pre-order Joe's book. That is great. And I guess on that website it has all the links to the different the YouTube channel and the TikTok and whatnot as well. So check it out, soulforcearts.com, to learn more about what Joe's, when he's not playing with the Birmingham Six, what he's doing, which I know you do a lot of other musical stuff, but we're not talking about that stuff today. Brian, what are you doing when you're not playing with the Birmingham Six?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You're looking at it right now. I'm doing this basically, so.
Okay.
No, I'm obviously playing with the shanties and playing with, working, playing with the shanties, drinking.
All right. And the
And
Shanties
doing
are.
podcasts for
I'm
you.
doing a podcast for that. And the
about it.
Shanties are another Philadelphia-based Irish rock band. that I was actually in for a time period. Brian's playing drums with them as well as the Birmingham Six, and yeah, so check out the shanties as well as the Birmingham Six. So. As I mentioned, we are right before St. Patrick's Day. It's just a couple days away. So we're here to talk about Irish music, and you know, I got a bunch of different stuff. Like I was telling you guys, we're gonna talk about some different things. And I'm kind of just interviewing you guys today, if you're cool with that.
That's cool, yeah.
You know, and I'll interject as well. So hopefully, our audience out there, we're still going to be talking about records. Trust me, I have a whole stack of records here to talk about, and we're talking about music, and we're going to keep drinking beers, and you know, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, so first, Brian, I'll go to you. Like, how did you get into Irish music?
Mostly by accident.
Okay.
Completely by accident. I was in a ska band that I actually got kicked out of.
I remember that.
And my best friend Jerry Doran drugged me to the Bogside Road shows repeatedly. You were with the Bogside Roads at the time.
I wasn't in them. I hung out with them, but
Right.
Bogside Rogues for people who watch or who haven't watched. Friend of the podcast, Bob Hurst, who's been on a few episodes now, is the singer and accordion player of Bogside Rogues.
Yes.
So that's how we're connected there. A lot of the Philly Irish bands are very connected there.
Yes.
So
And obviously we went to high school together.
yes, we did.
You hooked up with my girlfriend at one point. Well, that's another story. That's a different
You
story.
know, I wasn't going to bring that up, but yes, that might have happened. But
that happened.
But
It
listen,
totally
we
happened.
weren't hanging out
Totally.
then.
That's
We
true.
weren't in
That's
a
true.
band
We weren't-
together.
That's true.
You know
That's
what I
very
mean?
True. That's a whole different
That's
story,
a whole
kids.
different thing. Yes.
If we only had another podcast for that one.
Wow.
But,
Yeah. No. I just.
those days. Anywho, so there I found myself adrift, and I met you, and you said, "Hey, you want to start an Irish band?"
Yes.
And I said, "Sure."
Which is funny because if we go back even further, or like kind of intertwining with that was when you were when you were in a ska band. This is when I was actually booking shows at a bar in Northeast Philly called Big Nick's Saloon. And I booked his band.
Yes.
And I remember I'm sitting there one day and you know, Brian walks in and I'm just like, is that the fucking equipment manager from my high school football team?
Oh
and,
God!
And yeah,
when
and
the
so,
past comes to haunt you.
yeah, and that's what
comes
was
back
like.
to haunt you.
I was like, oh shit, Brian Kelly, right? And you're like, yeah. So that's kind
Yeah.
of like how we hooked up again and like started talking, and that's where I found out you play drums. I didn't even know you played drums.
Which is because that was like one of my last shows with that band. I didn't know they were kicking me out at that point.
Yep.
That was the last good show, and I was like, oh, I was so depressed. And then you walked up to me and said, hey, man, you know, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, that Paul Weiss guy.
Yeah.
Ran into
That
you
Paul
again.
Weiss guy.
That Paul Weiss guy.
Yep.
At H. Paul Weiss guy. Sorry,
Yep.
but yes.
Yeah, which is also funny because that bar that we're talking about, I actually wrote the Birmingham Six his favorite spot about that song is written about that bar in Northeast Philly.
So when he sings about it, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yes.
'Cause I've been there and I've seen those people, those crazy people in the song.
Which
we're there.
Which is fun. Like that song is on our debut
fact,
album, Iron Rations.
There's a section of that song that happened the night we were there. You wrote that about that night.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, that's great. I was there. I was there, experienced it firsthand.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So
Yeah.
so Joe, how did you get into Irish music? I know how I met you, but like what was your exposure to Irish music? How did you get into it?
Well, it happened very early. I started playing violin at age 5, and right away, like my first teachers, had me playing fiddle music of all kinds, like American fiddle music and Irish, of course. And I remember, really loving the tunes. They're fun. They were easy to play, and I had some great experiences. I lived out in California at the time, and I went to fiddle camp in the redwood forests.
Whoa!
Out there for a few years in a row.
That's crazy.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
cool.
Did you find
It was-
Ewoks?
Really magical.
That is.
I didn't find it, but lots of banana slugs. I don't know if you've ever seen a banana slug.
I have
They
not.
are neon yellow.
Yes.
Really?
Neon yellow slugs.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
They live among the pine needles, amongst these just unbelievably huge trees.
Nice.
And I still remember one of the tunes that I learned. It's not an Irish tune, but maybe I'll play it for you. So in any case, so I started young with that, and then it just stayed with me. It was always fun music to play. I went to college for classical music and for jazz, and so I didn't do as much fiddling there, but I always had it in my back pocket. And so then when I moved to Philly, when I was looking for work as a fiddler, I saw your ad on Craigslist, or I think it was maybe the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. Yeah, I saw
perfect.
your ad. Yes.
So it's worked out.
Now,
I really love the music.
Now tell like because I don't know if Brian knows this. You would actually divulge this information to me. First couple gigs, you weren't sure if you were going to stick with us, right?
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
It's okay. It's okay. I felt the same way when I started playing with them.
Yeah. And now it's been like
more the traditional kind of scene.
Right? Yeah. And now it's been like almost like 10 years later, and you're still not. Actually, it's even more than that at this point, and you're still like, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with these guys. So
it's like the mafia. You're stuck with us for life now.
So no, I want to say you joined the band in 2009. I think it was after we did Iron Rations, but before we put out the Kessel Run. So yeah, I think it was like 2009 you had joined the band. So that's it's been a long run. It's been 13 years that you've been in the band, and almost 14 years. So yeah, and we've been a band since 2006. So we're almost 20 years into it. So. Yeah, so we've been doing this for a long fucking time, which is actually, it's funny, like, that's like kind of like how I got into Irish music was, and I've mentioned this before.
How did you get into Irish music?
How did I get into Irish music?
How did you get into that?
So I always like grew up, there was always like some like sort of Irish music in my family, but we never really like delved into Irish music. My first exposure to Irish, to real that I was really into was actually from friend of the podcast, Frank Daly, who plays in Jameson Celtic Rock. It was on the Smiths episode. Introduced me to the Pogues my freshman year of high school. And from there I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like I didn't know who the Pogues were. Like when I up to that point thought of Irish music, I thought of like When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. That's the extent of like what I knew of Irish music. Yeah, exactly. So that's and then so I got into the Pogues, and I really liked the Pogues, and then post high school, I was playing like punk rock and indie rock and stuff like that. And then, and I've told it, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast, but like I was doing the same thing for a while, a good, like almost like 10 years or so. And then finally it just like, it fell apart. The last project I was trying to do. And I actually swore off music at the time. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not doing music anymore. Done. I didn't want to do it. And that lasted about 2 weeks. And when I picked up an acoustic guitar and was just fucking around with it and just, I was able to just start looking up like Irish songs on the internet just because I wanted to. I started looking up Pogue songs, and I started looking up other Irish songs. And I'm like, I can actually play this, and it's kind of easy. And I'm not a good guitar player because I was a bass player mainly. That was my main thing. I was a bass player, and I'm playing guitar, and I'm like, you know what? I think I could do this, and I could sing this. So decided to start doing a thing called Irish Terry Conklin just to see how it would go, and that was the name of the band.
When was that around? Like?
That was 2004ish, 2003, 4. So it was early. It was early 2000s for sure. And that's so that's how I got into it and just started playing. And then Irish Terry Conklin was not supposed to last, and it was cool. We lasted about a year, but that was about all it was supposed to last. And then I did like solo stuff for a little bit. There was a time where I was actually working with Bob Hurst, friend of the podcast, Bob Hurst, about joining the Bogside Rogues on mandolin. But then I just really wanted to do my own thing. I just kind of wanted to be like, nah, you know what? I think I want to do something else. And like, I really want to like, kind of like, in a way, be in control of what I was doing. And that's when I actually talked to you about doing Birmingham 6. And that's how it just kind of went from there. So that's really like what my exposure to and how I got into Irish music and have been doing it. Like I figured out, it was I saw this the other day. Actually, it was officially 20 years ago. So it was 2004 that Irish Terry Conklin played its first show. Wow. I actually saw it on Facebook as like a memory of like from 2014. I was like, I'm celebrating my 10th year in Irish music. So, because Irish Terry Conklin played on this day, 10 years ago. So so it's actually been 20 years that I've been playing Irish music.
Jeez.
So since I started to be like, all right, cool, this is good. So a little bit before that, because it was like a few months before like we actually played our first show as Irish Terry Conklin. But that's what we did. So So Joe, when it comes to Irish music, I know you said you were learning like the fiddle stuff. So what's I guess the genre of Irish music that you prefer? Like, because you got basically you have traditional Irish music, you have like punk Irish, you have rebel, and then you have like the reels and jigs and stuff like that. What is like as a fiddle player? What's the stuff you kind of like are like more attracted to?
Yeah, I would say it's there's a sort of crossover of the traditional stuff and I don't know. I don't want to put anybody down. I would say it's like played by really good players. so even people who don't do just Irish. So
Right.
I'm thinking of like one album by Mark O'Connor, Edgar Meyer, Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah,
That's
it's
probably
like
the only
Appalachian
name I
Waltz.
mentioned. I
That's the one I
recognize
know.
there. Everybody knows Yo-Yo Ma. Yeah.
Yeah, so he played cello. Edgar Meyer is just as good as Yo-Yo Ma, but he plays bass.
Okay.
It's just this mind blowing bass player, and Mark O'Connor equally mind blowing fiddler, and so they all have incredible skill in fiddling, but also in many other genres, and so they bring all those skills to this album, and there's some really amazing compositions on there, and they do some of the traditional things, but they do this. It's like such a beautifully crafted way. I definitely have appreciation for more the the hoedown, like around the campfire kind of sound as well. But like there's a part of me that I grew up playing classical music. I like the sort of elegant kind of sound as well.
Right.
So that's a lot of times what I'm drawn to. Yeah.
So we're not very elegant. So does that kill you sometimes?
Mess
Are
with
you ever like, oh my god, I got to hear Paul fucking sing off key and poorly as it is
Fast
anyway, and forget half the words?
Yeah.
Is that ever going through your mind while you're sitting there playing with us?
all the time?
I think it did in the beginning. Like your question, I was a bit uncertain in the beginning, but we're actually a really good band.
We really are.
Yeah, and I'm often impressed. Like, if we weren't as good, there would be no way that I would have stuck with it that long. But we're tight, and we play the songs like really cleanly and really well with a really good energy. So that's what I appreciate.
Which is funny because we haven't had a full band practice since I think it was 2018.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I think we learned a bunch of new songs, which I think we play like 3 of them now that we like learned. Like we sat there one day and like practiced for like a couple hours and like learned like 10 songs, and now I think we only play like 3 of them.
Yeah.
But no, we really have not. It was definitely pre-pandemic that we practiced last, and we really do. I agree with you, Joe. Thank you very much for saying it, because I do agree that we are very tight and
Great chemistry.
We have good chemistry,
yes.
and
very tight.
Sometimes we have shows that are like, a little sloppy, a little like, oh shit, what was that?
Shake the rust off though.
Yes,
and,
yes. But then we have other things where it's just like we seriously like we just fucking grab the audience and like fucking choke them like, you're gonna listen to the Birmingham Six, and they do.
First show's a little rough, but then the third show in that weekend is always tight as hell. And so.
Yeah. Brian, while I get you another beer, why don't you tell me what and Joe, of course, and our audience, what is the type of like Irish music that you like the best?
I got in when I started with Irish music. Oh, thank you. Flogging Molly was really like we're exploding here. Technical difficulties here.
Technical difficulties.
Hang on.
Yeah, that is pretty charged. I'd open that the rest of the way now. I think you're good.
You weren't kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on, folks.
So
like Flogging Molly was my introduction to Irish music.
Okay.
And that's obviously hard and fast, and that's what I think of. And the Pogues too. Like those were my 2 kind of like go-to. So
there you go, buddy. Look, I'll even
Thank
clean
you.
it up
Oh,
for you.
wow.
Look
You're
at that.
so nice.
We're a nice
Otisville
host
Record
here
Grill.
in the Ottsville Record
Thank you.
Grill.
Otisville. Is it Otisville or
Ottsville.
Ottsville.
I don't even know what Otisville is, but I'm sure there is an Otisville
There
somewhere.
probably is.
That'll be my next. That'll be like my second story, the
something
Otisville Record Grill.
It's like Talon Sling Blade in Otisville.
Yeah, right. So
But yeah, that's what I think of when I first think of Irish is like Flogging Molly, Pogues kind of stuff. But I mean, the more you play with like these bands, and you go to festivals and you see all this different stuff, you get introduced to like obviously the traditionals that have been like souped up and kind of played at different tempos, and that's what really is Irish.
Yeah.
So people's just taking that and sped it up like rock and roll.
Yep.
They take the blues and they speed it up.
Yep.
And that's what becomes rock and roll.
Yeah, I've always kind of been more partial to the punk bands, to like the Tossers, Flogging Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, I'm not a huge Dropkick Murphys fan. I like them, but I'm not a huge Dropkick fan. And I think, and again too, with like my introduction to Irish music being, ultimately really being the Pogues, because I love that sound and that big sound and all that instrumentation and just. And then the lyrics and whatnot, and I do love the rebel stuff, and I like what ultimately traditional Irish music like stood for. It was very much so. I did this the one time, and it was funny because the music teacher at the school really appreciated my analogy as I was. My kids, oldest kids, Jack being our producer, director, editor extraordinaire of the Country Hipster podcast. When they were younger, they were into music and whatnot, and the music teacher there, Miss Brown at Conley Elementary in Northeast Philadelphia, she knew that I played music, and somehow it came up that I played Irish music, and she said, "Hey, would you want to come to the school and play for the kids in March?" So I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Why the fuck not?
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is one of the things I liked about Irish music was that one of the things that I kind of made a parallel when I was getting ready to play Four Green Fields for the students was I explained how this was kind of like a spiritual, because being in March, they had just finished African American month. And, I know they had talked about that and whatnot. And I was like, and this would be basically kind of like an Irish like spiritual sort of deal, and talks about the struggle of Ireland, the struggle of the people of Ireland and what they've gone through, and and even there's songs about the Irish coming to America and the struggles they met in America as well, and ultimately were able to overcome it as a lot of immigrants are able to do. And the teacher really appreciated like I was able to make that connection, and I think that's one of the things that always turned me on about Irish music and got me into it was without being over political, still there it is to an extent politicized. So that's that's kind of what I liked, and
so in the end it's for a good cause in a way. It's like it's I mean but
yep,
cause of the people, so to
yep
speak.
yep
But in the end it means something.
Absolutely, and I like music to mean something. So Brian, what is it that you like about playing Irish music?
It's well, it's not overly complicated.
That's true.
Which is, there's so many different stuff that I like. I like a lot of like different types of music, progressive rock, kind of like that, where it's you're not playing Rush or Yes, you're playing kind of a standard. Yeah, I know you don't like that, but it's complicated music, kids. It's very complicated. Anyway. But it's pretty standard format, and once you kind of play enough of them, you kind of get the feel of this kind of music, that kind of that Celtic kind of drum kind of feel.
Yep.
From my perspective, it's pretty easy, and it's like once you played enough festivals and all, you kind of learn all the songs. You kind of, in a way, you find out that a lot of these songs are other songs like Back Home in Derry is really what do you call it?
The sinking of
Gerald.
Yeah, thank you.
And Sam's song is really Ghost Riders in the Sky, and like so once you're kind of already familiar with these songs, and then they've already changed them to just make them Irish in a way, like so you're already familiar with them. So in a way, so there's a familiarity, and they're great songs, and like I said, and they're not overly complicated. After a while, they're kind of infectious too. Like you start playing them, and it's almost like I don't know. It's very catchy. Like you hear the songs, you like the songs, you know the ooh ah up the rah. People remember the catchphrases, the choruses and stuff like that. Like it becomes fun. It's fun. So it's fun. It's not overly complicated, and like I said, it's almost like it's ingrained in you because a lot of this stuff is already based on something else.
Yep.
So that's what I really like about Irish music, as far as I think.
And I definitely like the simplicity about it. Like I said, I'm not a very good guitar player, which I know Joe can attest to. Like I've always said, like I know like maybe 15 chords tops, which is probably about 6 or 7 chords more than when I started doing this
like
20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is what it is. But what I like about playing Irish music is that even with its simplicity, I'm able to be expressive. I'm able to be expressive in the music. I'm able to be expressive in the lyrics. When we're playing stuff, the different breakdowns that we do and different dynamics that we hit in the sense of like even a traditional song that we do kind of like our little spin off of, it works, and it's definitely an outlet for me to be able to like let it go, because I'm a very simple person, obviously. There's not a lot going on in here. I think Modest the Mouse, who you might see in the back there, probably runs on his like little thing that keeps my brain going. But no, and that's one of the things I like about it, is I could still be expressive and not, like as you said, not complicated. Especially when we do the original songs, like that's my outlet there, and I'm able to do that in a setting of like, and of an Irish rock band and whatnot.
The good thing too is like you can hear when we all play together, you kind of hear the influences that come out of what we came from. Like I don't know about you, like I'll throw a lot of, I came from like rock and metal kind of like that, with a little hip hop and funk, and so I try to throw that in every now and then. And I can hear the stuff you guys grew up on through your music, because I'm like, oh, you're Barry and James, you can hear what they played, and they'll play it for you every now and then, but you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely, you guys grew up on this kind of music, I grew up on this kind of music, and you can hear that when we kind of come together. You hear the things I do, my fills and stuff like that.
Yep. And there's stuff, Joe, when I'm hearing you and I'm just like, like I said, I'm not I'm a musical idiot as it is, but I can recognize some of the stuff that Joe's doing. I'm like, that fucking jazz motherfucker's throwing some jazz into this. I hear that. Yep. What are you doing, Joe? Yep. That's syncopation. That doesn't belong here, but it works. You know what I mean? Like over the weekend, I'm like, oh, like, because I remember, I forget what song we were playing.
Jazz. I can hear that a mile away. Yep. That's definitely.
We were playing something, and it was one of the songs that you play a melody line as well as Barry, and Barry's the electric guitar player at Birmingham 6, and I fucking heard it because I looked at you and smiled, and you smiled back. Joe went straight into like a harmony of the melody line. I'm like, you mother, that's some fucking Thin Lizzy shit right there, man. Like two guitars doing the same thing, but in like different keys. It was like fucking beautiful. So it was good. So Joe, what do you like about playing Irish music?
There's something in Irish music that I really enjoy that is common to like all the different styles of music that I really enjoy, and that there's just like a lot of life in it. Like Irish music played well. It just really brings me alive, and it just brings me a lot of joy. And I can almost see the Emerald Isle. The green fields and the butterflies flying around and little fairies dancing in the forest. It's
nice.
It's a great image that comes to me. But it also has this sadness to it as well at times. Yeah. And the word that comes to mind is like bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all the music that really like grabs me has that bittersweet quality. It's like at once dark and joyful. Nice. And I just love that. And Irish music does that really well.
Yep.
Well said, Joe.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You fucking poet too, man. What the hell, dude? Maybe you should be writing the lyrics, Joe.
I made the stuff I said sound like crap. Oh my god.
That's what Joe does. Joe takes our crap and makes it like Joe literally polishes turds every time he plays with the Birmingham 6.
Thank God for you.
So all right, so I'm gonna show off my vinyl collection of Irish music in a second, because we are a vinyl record podcast as well. But I want to know from you guys, like, what are some of your favorite Irish bands or musicians, if it's individual musicians as well. Joe, I'll let you go first.
Sure. All right, so one is a harp player named Triona Marshall. I wish she did more, but she only has one album out. It is this remarkable, just like heavenly album of all these traditional tunes that she's playing on harp. It's just gorgeous. And one of the tracks on her album, Connie O'Connell's, is just, again, so lively. Another one is the Bothy Band. I don't know if you guys know that.
I've heard them.
They're more like a folk. Yeah. I think they're big in the 70s. And they have one, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Fionn Go Walla on the Best of the Bothy.
Yes, I remember that name. I remember that. No.
Went to high school with that dude.
Was it a Star Wars character?
On the best of the Bothy Band album, there's this one track where they do this a cappella song that probably came from some little island off the coast of Ireland that nobody visited for 500 years, and so they have their own language, and it's like so rhythmic and fun. I just love that. And of course, the album I mentioned earlier with Mark O'Connor, Yo-Yo
Nice.
Ma, and Edgar Meyer, they have some really spectacular Irish music on that.
Cool. And so what are some of your favorite bands?
Well, obviously, it's Flogging Molly, we said earlier. The Pogues.
Speak up.
Speak up. Okay, sorry. I'd have to mention Thin Lizzy. I'm just starting to get into now, which I never got into for years. Just got into them. Would it be wrong to say U2?
No.
Too mainstream or
No. So here's the thing. Like, yes, and it's a beautiful thing about music, right? Is that everything in music is subjective. You know what I mean? And so I don't think, like, if there's something that you're recognizing as like, this is my favorite Irish band, well, cool. Then
right.
Who am I to say it's too mainstream or anything like that, man? If that's what you like, that's what you like, and that's what we do here on the.
Okay.
We don't judge. I mean, I'm judging you, but we don't judge.
And Timmy Kelly, we'd have to plug him.
Timmy Kelly,
favorite,
the Irish singer, Timmy Kelly.
One of my favorites.
Timmy's my boy. My boy.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk about. All right, so we are a vinyl record podcast, or we're a drinking podcast with a vinyl record problem. I'm going to show you a little bit about my vinyl record problem here. So there is really, and I don't have a lot of it listed on OttsvilleRecordGarage.com because I'm still building the site. It's a very small thing. Eventually, and I've talked about it, eventually the point is to hopefully open up a real live record store. But I have some time to develop that and get there. So the site it gets updated, and I'm working on the used records and the new records. I definitely do not have everything listed on there that I want to have listed on there, but it's getting there and it will get there. I'm also the only person doing it. So a cool thing about checking out OttsvilleRecordGarage.com is that you literally can watch a small startup business grow. So I will show you my stack of this is just a stack of vinyl here that these are all Irish bands, and these are some of my favorite Irish bands and some of my favorite records. So I'm just going to kind of go through them real quick. There's a bunch here. So we got the John Byrne Band, which is a friend of the podcast, John Byrne Band, with a Shiver in the Sky. We got a couple Dropkick Murphys here, even though I said I'm not a huge Dropkick Murphys fan. I do have them here. Boom. I got some Dubliners. Right? Got a couple Dubliners there. These are in my personal collection. Now this next one's one of the coolest records I have. Flogging Molly, Drunken Lullabies picture disc. Right? So funny story about this record, how I got this is I mentioned before how I worked at Soundstage Direct as the buyer, and then like we would have like random records just sitting around in like piles of shit. I don't even know where they came from. And so for whatever reason, the one day I'm going through it and I come across this, I'm like, oh fuck. And my boss is like, you want that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, it leaves with you today. I'm like, okay, like I could just have it. He's like, yeah. So that's how I got this like fucking picture disc of Flogging Molly, Drunken Lullabies.
How much is that? I'm just wondering.
I don't know because I never looked it up.
Okay.
So and it's, I don't think it's available anymore. So the resale value might be high on that. It might go into my season 2 to go for the Discogs value, which if you watch the podcast, you know what I'm talking about. But and again, Flogging Molly is probably above is probably one of my favorites because I got Float here. I've got this guy here, which I forget what the album's called, to be honest with you. This Life is Good. I got a little Speed of Darkness. I actually have 2 copies here of Swagger. Now, one of these, this copy here is actually unopened. This is Flogging Molly's debut release. This one was given to me by Josh from the Natterjacks, and this is a limited edition colored vinyl that I have yet to open, and then I have the black vinyl version. And this album here, it's funny, this is Within a Mile of Home. This is actually the first album I discovered from Flogging Molly, and the way that happened was my oldest daughter, Kaylee, we were at the Chamonix Mall, and we were in Hot Topic. And at the time in Hot Topic, you could put on headphones and you can like listen to CDs that were up and coming and whatnot. And she's like, Dad, I want this CD and I think you'll like it. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And she's like, this is a band called Flog Molly. And at the point, I hadn't heard of Flog Molly. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I think you would really like it. And so I put the headphones on and I listened to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, you should buy that CD. So that's actually how I was introduced to Flog Molly was through that. And then of course the Pogues. I got the best of. I got Pogetry in Motion. And I also have, which was one of our episodes that actually featured John Byrne as our special guest. I have If I Should Fall from Grace with God, which is back in my pile. It was on my 25. That's one of our episodes. So besides this Irish music episode, you can go watch our Pogues episode. This guy here, Ramshackle Army from Australia. Look up the Ramshackle Army. We got to play with them one time, and they gave me this fucking record. And this is cool because it's like it's a colored vinyl. It's like a pretty purple and blue colored vinyl, which was cool because I was actually going to buy it from them. And Kat, the fiddle player, she just handed it to me. She's like, that's yours now. I'm like,
stuff is great.
Fuck yeah. Another band that Birmingham 6 got to play with, the Real Mackenzies out of Canada. Oh, yeah. This is a great album. These guys were fucking cool as fuck to play with as well. And then the Tossers. We've played 3 times with the Tossers. This is another cool one. This is my favorite Tossers album. This is The Valley of the Shadow of Death. And I have it on translucent orange vinyl. Which is really cool. This was a limited pressing, limited edition. And when I saw that it was available, I ordered one for myself and got it in. The Tossers are a band out of Chicago, which are more like very good, a little bit more traditional, but still with the punk rock feel. And great fucking guys, cool guys and girl to hang out with and fucking drink with and play music with and tell stories with. The last time we played with them, I ended up. The show was over. It was hard. It was a horrible night. It was a great night for us. I thought it was actually, I actually put that night as honestly, personally, I think it was the best show that I've ever played in my entire life. I don't know if you guys remember that show. I do. Like just the whole set. I felt that was the best I personally haven't. And I don't think the band has matched it since. But it was absolutely the best show that we ever did, and it was great because we get hit. It was the beginning of March, and we get hit with this fucking crazy snowstorm out of nowhere. Yeah. The first band ended up not coming, and people were like, "Oh my god, or is this really going to happen or not?" And we ended up playing Kung Fu Necktie, and everybody who was there was just fucking awesome. It was like I don't think everybody who had tickets showed up, but everybody who was there. It was a whole lot of fun. And then I got a couple Wolf Tones records here too. Which are also Wolf Tones are actually on tour right now with their final tour right now of America. So they've been doing it for over 60 years. So that is pretty much my personal collection of Irish music on vinyl. Now, what you can do if you don't have Irish music on vinyl, but you want to listen to some Irish music for St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's Day season, go check out Paddy Rock Radio. Every year they do this mega fucking just basically this huge playlist. I know Phil, the Grinning Beggar at paddyrock.com is actually doing a live stream this week, and he's going to have this whole thing, but you can restream it. So go check out the St. Patrick's Day playlist on paddyrockradio.com. You can also, if you're on Spotify, look up Celtic Punk. That's another good playlist to go by. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, look up the Birmingham 6, but spell out the 6, and you can listen to our full catalog, which is only like 3 albums. But what's also cool, I don't know, have you guys been on our Spotify lately?
No, but I've been on YouTube, and we're apparently on YouTube too.
We are on YouTube too. Yes, we're on YouTube. Yes, they are. They are part of our distribution deal, which like means like every 6 months. Actually, it's even less now. I get like a check for $25. I'm like, oh yeah. But yeah. So what's kind of cool is we've actually gotten enough listens and enough followers on Spotify that now you can actually start Birmingham 6 Radio on Spotify.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool. We've grown to that level. So you can go and basically it plays a lot of other bands that are like cross-referenced with us, such as Flog Molly, Dropkick Murphys, but you also hear like other bands that like aren't as big as Flog Molly, Dropkick Murphys, or the Tossers, or even the Birmingham 6. So that is pretty cool. So yeah, so that's it. You could do that, and like I said, I'm a vinyl nerd. I own personally probably too many records, not even including what's in the Ottsville Record Garage. So I like to show off my vinyl. It's like, what's the meme? It's like, how do you, the different ways of, showing like you're like, I don't know, like above people. And one of them is I got that on vinyl. So. Speaking of which,
yes, you do.
Yes. Speaking of which, I know you just told me you just got a record player.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you need records.
So I need records.
I know where you can get them.
Where?
The OttsvilleRecordGarage.com. There you go.
There you go.
How about you,
Shameless
Joe?
plug.
There you go. Do you have a record collection at all? Do you collect vinyl?
Oh no, I've never gotten into it.
I hate you.
Get a record player is what he's trying to say. He'd say some records like he's gonna do to me. So
yes. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Especially, actually, it does actually surprise me a little bit with your jazz background that you don't actually collect vinyl, because I think the best way to listen to jazz, and I'm not a huge jazz head, right? But I enjoy jazz. I can't get into freeform jazz. I can't do it. It's too much for me. The avant-garde stuff, it literally gives me a headache. But other stuff I do enjoy. And I don't want to like get into names because I'm gonna fucking say them wrong, or I'm just But there is regular jazz that I do. Not regular jazz, but other jazz that I do enjoy. And I think honestly the best way to listen to jazz is on vinyl. And I'm not just saying that because I love vinyl, because I've also said there are things that don't sound good on vinyl.
There's also something nostalgic about that.
There
too.
is.
Like listening,
that's the other thing too.
Headphones on,
Yep.
It's something so cool about that.
So it does kind of surprise me you don't have a record collection there, Joe. But we'll work on it. We could take that printer that's behind you and turn that into a record player. And then we can fill up that bookcase with lots of records. We can make that happen, Joe.
Perfect.
So what is your Joe? I'm gonna just stick on you. What are your favorite and least favorite things about playing music this time of year specifically? Yeah, go for it, man. Go.
Favorite and least favorite about playing
like this time of year. So we're
St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. The St. Patrick's Day season, like what's like your favorite thing about playing this time of year, and then what's your least favorite thing about playing this time of year?
Well, I guess my favorite thing is just the enthusiasm that the crowds have for the music. One of my favorite things is just doing what I do well and having people receive it well, and the people who come to our shows love Irish music, and it's great for them to come up afterwards and share like, oh, I love that song that you guys do, and like, oh, just share how much they appreciate it, and so that feels really good.
Yes.
And the other side of that coin is just how rowdy the crowd can be and loud. I grew up as playing. As a kind of a sensitive violinist, right? And so being around all the noise is kind of a lot for me at times. So win some, you lose some.
I remember when we were learning songs last time, there was one song where you told me you immediately pulled your headphones off because it was so loud and obnoxious that you were like, I can't play this. And I think that was a Dropkick Murphy song too. So and we never play it. We never learned to play it. So, Brian, your favorite and least favorite things about playing this time of year?
It's kind of like what Joe said. When you see the reaction from the crowd, when you see people dance to my beat, or you see people get into the music, that's mainly the thing. Like I love seeing people react to music. I love it. I love when people like it. I love when people or they know the words to it, they sing along. It's such a pick me up.
Yep.
And like you said, like Joe had said before, when you go out after the show, when people come up to you, like, they hug you. I've had people come up and, can I have a drumstick? Oh my God. Can I have, can I have your, Barry, can I have a, guitar pick, something? Like, that's like real fans. And you're like, okay, and give this kid, you feel like, here you go, kid. Like me and Joe Green throwing him the shirt. You're like, here you go, kid.
Yep.
Hopefully you start your career in music because of this, know, and that's what you hope. Like, those are the things that I love.
I like to say to my wife that I'm a minor celebrity in certain circles, and so those circles are in March and September when we're when we're at the height of like the Birmingham Six stuff, it is one of those things where it's like, if you walk into a room like you belong and you know what you're doing, you can basically go wherever you want, and that kind of is what like we deal with a little bit in March and September. April 1st, nobody gives March 18th, no one gives a fuck who any of us are.
No one wants to hear Irish music after that.
Yes.
They're like, all right.
Yep. So what would be your least favorite thing about this time of year?
The least favorite thing is for me. I don't know if you guys. There's always people that want to come up to talk to you that don't understand music, but they want to talk music, kind of thing like that. Like, and they want to tell you who the best guitar player is, the drummer is, and they're like, they have no idea. Hey, you know who the great drummer is? And you're the drummer, right? Let me tell you. You're like, nope. I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes talking over. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
But other than that, it's like I love this time of year. Like, it's very like it's great. It's a great time for us. We have so much fun playing together, hanging out together.
Which we don't really do outside of when we're playing. So that's like,
why we get together. It's just like it's weird. It's just like
it's nice. It is nice, and that's like probably that is one of the things I like is like because sometimes it gets daunting because to an extent it's. And this is I'm going to lead with probably what my least favorite thing about it is that this time of year it's a job. This time of year it's a job. It
feels like work.
It's March and September or the fall in general, which is when we're the busiest are those 2 times a year, and that's when it feels like a fucking job. And it's just like, all right, I got to do this. St. Patrick's Day is a job. You know what I mean? I don't feel like on St. Patrick's Day I get to play the songs that I want to play or that I love to play. I play the songs that people want to hear, which is part of the job. And everybody has a job. You can love your job, but at the end of the day, it's still a fucking job. And so that is kind of like my least favorite thing about it is this time of year is that it's a job. But one of my favorite things to do is, as you were saying, is actually getting back together with the band. Because sometimes we'll go 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months without playing. Like that's actually what happened this March. We hadn't played together since November, and then at a couple weeks ago, the beginning of March, we're like, bang, we're there, and we had a great fucking show. And part of that too is like, number one, it was a festival type show, which I love our festival shows. The festival shows are like we're doing like one set from like 45 minutes to like up to 2 hours. We've actually done like 2 hour sets. Which is usually what we do with like Irish Weekend. We're one of those bands, and I don't know, you guys probably hate it. It's me. I know it's me. When I'm up there in those situations, I'm not taking a break. I just want to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Get through it.
And because I think it makes a more complete show, because it's just like, all right, we're only playing 2 hours, but let's take a 15-minute break. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get up there and perform for 2 hours. Which can be tiring, but it's also a lot of fun. But those are the types of things that I like, and I think that is where I like that's the thing I like the best about this is those types of situations where not only do we get together as a band, but the thing we played at the beginning of the month in Mount Holly was we also got to hang out with the other bands in the area, which doesn't happen a lot either in this time of year. And I think those are the things that I love about playing Irish music is like the camaraderie about it and whatnot. But yeah, definitely the fact that it's a job, and honestly, sometimes it's a job is because of the people that are there, because March does not always bring out all of the Irish music supporters. It brings out the people who are alcohol supporters. The riffraff. Yes. Which to an extent,
that's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Like the people that hang out afterward the shows are kind of like not the people you just want to hang out with, but you get stuck hanging with them. And one more thing I wanted to say about
do it. No,
the other thing that makes it not so enjoyable for me is you get there and the equipment they're like, you can use the equipment, and the equipment is for me. It's I don't know how you guys the amps if they're all like the sound system's out of something. But with me, it's always like, oh, don't bring your drums. You can use the house kit, and the house kit looks like they've been thrown down some steps and stepped on, and car ran over it, and it's like, oh, great, yeah, I'll try to use this.
So back to what I was saying about the people. Sometimes the people drive me nuts, like especially on St. Patrick's Day. So our demographic on the Country Hipster podcast is actually getting younger. We have a little bit of a younger viewership now, and some of you may be experiencing your first St. Patrick's Day or an early St. Patrick's Day. So as a seasoned drinker and an Irish musician, the Country Hipster, I'm going to give you some fucking advice for how to live on St. Patrick's Day. This goes
listen up,
and you know what?
Just listen up.
Some people who might consider themselves seasoned St. Patrick goers, you may have to fucking listen to this too, because some of you guys forget what's going on. So I have a list here of do's and don'ts that you should take part in for St. Patrick's Day. Number one, then this is just not even number one, just because you know what, get into your Irish garb. So what I'm wearing here is actually a throwback Celtic United jersey that was given to me by the McElkenny and Farrell family, who are actually, their grandfather Richard McElkenny was one of the original, not the original, one of the actual Birmingham Six, who our band is named after. And those who don't know, the Birmingham Six and the Guildford Four were falsely accused, and then prosecuted and found guilty under false pretense because of basically racism in England at the time, and spent 20 years in jail for the Birmingham pub bombings, which they did not do. None of the people they arrested did it. They were like the government. Oh, look, we have a ladybug. Yes, we have all sorts of things. That's part of the shit. We got a drink. That's part of the drinking game of the Country Hipster podcast.
What the hell?
We pointed it. Yeah, it's like whenever we
made that up.
If you watch the Country Hipster podcast, you would know. So we got a drink. We got a drink. There we go. It doesn't have to be a chug, just a drink. As we pointed out, a critter. If we saw Modest Mouse, then we would have to chug our drink.
Oh, okay.
But that's different. Yes, there are rules. No, he's dead. He's okay.
Right,
he doesn't count that.
Cool.
He doesn't count that. But
I keep seeing one over my shoulder.
So the Birmingham Six were in prison for 20 years for crimes they didn't commit. The English government even knew who did it, the actual bombings, but still kept these men in jail. The Birmingham Six and the Guildford Four. If you're looking for a good movie about Irish injustice, check out the movie In the Name of the Father, a Daniel Day-Lewis movie, which focuses more on the Guildford Four and Jerry Conlon specifically. But they do mention the Birmingham Six, and it's basically the same circumstances that went on. So this shirt here was actually given to me by the Farrell and the McElkenny family. Nice. My buddy Derm Farrell, who now lives in Philadelphia, his family got me this throwback jersey, and I wear it every St. Patrick's Day. So wear your green, wear your Irish pride. So that is a good thing to do on St. Patrick's Day. But here are the don'ts to do for you St. Patty's Day goers. Number one, don't fucking drive. Take an Uber, take a Lyft, taxi, just walk. Just fucking don't drive. Don't be stupid. If you're going to be drinking, just don't drive. I think that should be common sense by this point, but it's really not. Don't fucking drive. Okay, number two, over tip your bar staff. Some of the waiters, the waitresses, the bartenders, they have been there for 12, 15, 20 hours straight. They've been working all weekend. They are tired. Over tip them. They've been dealing with drunk assholes for like 3 weeks at that point. So over tip your bar staff. Be nice to your bouncers, aka don't be a dick. They have a job to do. Don't start a fight unnecessarily. Well, don't start a fight, period. But especially unnecessary.
They're probably going to win too, so don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And if they say it's closing time, put your beer down and go. Just fucking leave. Number four, don't try to Irish dance unless you actually know how to. So many times, and it seems to be it's fucking almost 30-year-old dudes and early 20s girls who want to sit there and do this Irish dance, and they do some sort of half-ass hoedown, which isn't even a real fucking hoedown or a line dance or anything, and you look stupid.
They're doing this.
Yes,
they're
and they're like, and put their arms up like,
I know how to do this.
What the fuck are you doing? If you don't know how to Irish dance, don't Irish dance. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Trust me.
Go. There's plenty of Irish dance schools. Go learn how to do it and then do it. if a band is playing only Irish music and you realize they're playing only Irish music, now you can ask them, hey, can you play something else? Chances are, though, if they're only playing Irish music, they can't. So just accept it.
Please, yes.
Point in case was when we were playing on Saturday, there was this girl who was definitely maybe mid-20s and was definitely had been drinking all day. And she said, I quote, "I know you only play Irish music, but can you play American Girl?" And I just looked at her. I'm like, well, you kind of said it right there that we only play Irish music. And she's like, yeah, but can you play American Girl? I'm like, no. No, we can't. She's like, well, anything else? I'm like,
Irish song?
I was like, we can play Irish music.
Yeah.
So chances are, if they're only playing Irish music, they only play Irish music. Like the Birmingham Six only plays Irish music.
On. Do you play Rihanna?
Yeah. Oh man, that was okay. So that's actually a funny story. You mentioned
All
that,
right.
Joe. You weren't in the band yet, which is funny because you lived in Pittsburgh at the time because you were still in college. We were playing at the Harp and Fiddle in Pittsburgh. Did you ever go there when you went to Carnegie Mellon?
I must have.
Okay.
I must have.
Yeah, so we were playing at the Harp and Fiddle, and it wasn't a huge crowd, but it was cool. And the Harp and Fiddle is basically it's an Irish bar in Pittsburgh. If you like Irish music and you like the Irish culture, and it's a true Irish bar. I think they do sometimes like throughout the year have like regular cover bands, but they also have Irish music throughout the year, and it's more than just an Irish theme. They don't just throw up a shamrock and say we're an Irish bar. Right. They are a true Irish bar. So they had the Birmingham Six there, and we're there and we're playing. This is when we were 4-piece because Joe was not in the band yet. And I did notice this table of like early 20s college girls sitting there. At this point, what's funny about it, at this point, these girls are probably in their mid 30s, but at the time they were early 20s.
They were young.
And the one girl walks up to me and goes, this is when I realized I was getting old. One girl walks up to me in between songs and I'm the singer, so they always come up to me and they're like, hey, could you play Rihanna? And I just look at them, I was like, is that a song?
It is a song, funny enough.
Well,
it is a song.
Yeah, and she's like
from Fleetwood Mac. But that's in the 70s, so she wouldn't know that song. So yeah.
And she's like, no, like Rihanna. I'm like, is that a band? Is that a band? I don't know any. I don't.
Like,
and she's like, like
Rihanna?
Under My Umbrella. And I was like, wasn't that like the
mean?
Birds or something? Like, because I'm thinking like We Shared My Umbrella. I was like,
yeah.
And she just looked at me. She's like, no. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. And she just went and sat down, which was nice. So then the next day when we get in from Pittsburgh, I walk in and my oldest at the time, who's like maybe 11 or 12 years old, is sitting on the computer. And I walk into the house and the first thing I do, I see her, I say, hey, what the fuck's a Rihanna? And she just looks at me. She's like, you don't know who Rihanna is? I'm like, no, I don't. What is a Rihanna? So she had to explain to me who Rihanna was. So yes. So except that an Irish band may only know Irish music. So, and that's also how I realized I was getting old. Number 6, don't keep asking for the same song. And if you do ask us if you have a request and the band is going to play it, be there when the band plays your song. Because so many times you have people walk up and they're like, play this. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. I'll get to it in a couple songs. And then they disappear and you play the song. And then like 20 minutes later, they're like, well, did you play this yet? I'm like, we fucking did it for you. Where were you? I was like, what are you telling me? That was like another story from Saturday is this woman's like, can you play Tell Me Mom? Like, we just fucking did it 5 minutes ago. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
But they want it again right now.
Yes,
like,
exactly. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not playing it. We just literally fucking did the song. So request a song, but be there to hear the song or realize it's being played, and don't keep asking for the same song over and over and over again. And then, most importantly, and this is something to keep in mind, goes back to the don't fucking drive part. Most cops on St. Patrick's Day just want you to be safe, and they just want you to have a good time. So once again, don't be a dick. If a cop tells you, just go to fuck home, go to fuck home. Don't drive. Don't do anything stupid. It's like they just want you to have fun too. You're the last thing any cop wants to do on St. Patrick's Day is clean you up off of the fucking road.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? They really want you to go out. They do want you to have fun. They don't want you to be a fucking dick.
Exactly.
They're just like, yeah, cool. I actually saw one time this dude walked out of the bar. It was actually a bar we were playing in Cherry Hill that we don't play anymore. Actually, I don't even know if the bar still exists. And this dude like is just fucking starting shit, just starting tons of shit. And the cop's just like, all right, dude, just go, just be done. And you know what I mean? Like, you know, put your drink out, just go. And there was another guy who was into it, and he told the other guy, like, get lost. And the other guy's like, all right, I'm sorry, and he got lost. And the other guy just wouldn't go. And they're like, dude, you need to leave. And they're like, you know, they were gonna let him go. They were just gonna let him go home until he squared up against the cop. And then next thing you know, like there's like it's just like, come on, dude. And I remember even the cop when he like was detaining him was just like, you were gonna go home, dude. Like now you're going to jail. Like you're a fucking idiot.
The cuffs are hurting me.
Yes, it's just like so just you know, just don't be a dick. Yeah. That's what it comes down. Don't be a dick. Have a good time. Be safe. And you know, and that's basically it. That's the country hipster advice to St. Patrick's Day party goers. All right, so. One of the greatest episodes, not episodes, this is one of our greatest episodes, but one of the greatest segments on the Country Hipster Podcast is when we talk about our top 3 songs. All right. So, Joe, what are your top 3 Irish songs?
All right. So I alluded to these earlier. One is Connie O'Connell's by Triona Marshall, that fabulous harp player. Mm-hmm. She sometimes plays with the Chieftains.
Nice. Chieftains are also a great fucking band.
And yeah. I saw them live, and she played with them. That's why
I remember you asked me to go to that show with you.
Yeah.
We were living together at that time when you saw them, and I think you asked me to go to that show,
right.
and I couldn't go. I think I had like previous engagement, or I think maybe I was doing a solo show or something. But I remember that we were living together when you saw the Chieftains. Yeah. All right, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the other one is the song name that I botched earlier by the Nazi band. IONNGHUALA. That's how you spell it. But again, this is a cappella piece that's like rhythmic in a way that like no other Irish music that I've ever heard is. It's incredibly syncopated and in this ancient Celtic language, and it's just like really fun. And then the Green Groves of Erin, and that's on that Appalachian Waltz album that I mentioned earlier as well. And it's just so lively, and the arrangement of the violin, the cello, and the bass, it's very very rhythmic and dynamic. I just love that piece.
Awesome. Brian, what are your top 3 Irish songs?
Well, I kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm it's a Flogging Molly fan. Drunken Lullabies has to be in my top 3. Also fan of the Pogues, so I'm going to say Fall from Grace with God.
Okay.
And I was thinking about this. I'm like, I think Fisherman's Blues. I really like Fisherman's Blues.
Great fucking song. Yeah. Great song. So here's what I'll say about Fisherman's Blues. Number 1, I really enjoy playing Fisherman's Blues too. It's not on my top 3, but I do appreciate playing it. But one of like probably the biggest compliments I've ever gotten as a musician from like another musician. So it was the first time we were playing with the Tossers at JC Dobbs. Rest in peace, JC Dobbs. We got JC Dobbs. So Joe,
I'll drink to that one. Joe, drink to that one.
We were playing at JC Dobbs. We were opening for the Tossers, and the Continental was also playing. Now, the Continental, the lead singer of the Continental is a man named Rick Barton, if you look into him, besides his old punk rock stuff, was one of the founding members of Dropkick Murphys. Him and Ken Casey and whoever the original singer was, who I can't think of his name right now, they were the original founding members of Dropkick Murphys. And the Continental was on that bill as well, and we got done playing, and I'm walking through the crowd, like off the stage to get back to where the merch was and whatnot, and Rick stops me in the middle of the crowd and goes, "That was a fucking great version of Fisherman's Blues there." And so for me to like hear that from like someone who's like been doing it for like so much longer and at such a higher level, to get like have him like say that to me, unlike I didn't ask him, hey, what did you think of our set or anything. Like, he literally stopped me and went like, that was a fucking great version of Fisherman's Blues. That was like one of the biggest compliments I ever got, like from like a peer, like a fellow peer. And that made me feel good. That was really cool. So that's what I will say about Fisherman's Blues. I do like that song, but it did not make it on my top 3. So I took a little bit of a different approach with my top 3 here. Okay. So because there's so many songs I really like, and I probably could do a top 3 in each of these sort of like categories.
5 or 6, So
this is what I did. So I did the first thing I did, my favorite song to play, and that is The Ferryman. I love The Ferryman. I love the song. Wow. I love it's a simple song. It's not a real difficult song. I did not realize that I wrote a song that was almost exactly like The Ferryman
until Saturday.
No. I knew that, but like I didn't realize it because like I didn't know The Ferryman when I wrote With Friends.
Right.
I actually didn't know The Ferryman was a song when I wrote that song, and so like it's like one of those things in retrospect. It's like, oh yeah. Joe's actually the one who really made me realize how close it was, because what people don't realize about Joe is that he actually doesn't know a lot of the names of our songs that we play. and Joe is such a gifted musician that I don't even have to tell Joe anything that we're doing. I just start playing.
Yeah.
He knows what key it's in. He knows where we're going with it, and he knows what to do with it. And a lot of times he just fucking will just improvise what he's doing, and it works. It really does. It works really well with what we're playing. And the first time I actually realized how close The Ferryman and With Friends was, except that they're pretty much in different keys, was when we're playing with Joe and we start doing The Ferryman and he starts playing With Friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, motherfucker, I was like, God damn it. So, but they are in different keys. But no, The Ferryman is probably my favorite song to play. I love that song. My favorite ballad, and I think that's also an important thing with Irish music, are the ballads. My favorite ballad is a song called Peggy Gordon. As a band, we don't play it, but it's just such a beautiful song about, not like having all this love for a woman and not, number one, not knowing how to tell her, not knowing if she's going to accept it, not knowing if, it's going to be returned, or knowing that you're going to tell this woman your real feelings and she's just going to be like, I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Irish emo. It's great. It's great. But it's like, it is probably one of my all-time
uttered ever.
Yes, it is. It is my favorite ballad.
Right.
I also enjoy playing it, but it's my favorite ballad, and it's called Peggy Gordon. Okay. Then I have my just overall favorite Irish song, and it tells the story about the Irish coming to America, specifically, not totally, but like not only during the famine in the 1800s, but also then the resurgence of Irish immigration in the early 20th century, and that would be the Pogue song "Thousands Are Sailing."
Oh yeah, that was going to be one of mine.
Fucking beautiful song.
Yes.
Well done.
If you did 6, that would have been my 4th, and
I know. So that's probably which actually that's one of the songs when we sat down at our last practice to learn those 10 songs. That's one of the 10 songs we learned, but we've never played it. So I think we need to revisit that. I think we need to revisit that and put that into the Birmingham 6 repertoire.
With the shanties, so.
Yeah, well, fuck the shanties.
All right. I'm just saying.
All right.
I do play it.
So Brian, I'm going to start with you now. What's your least favorite Irish song?
All right, least favorite Irish song, I'm going to go with, I don't know if it technically qualifies as an Irish song, but The Unicorn.
Oh, fucking Unicorn.
The Unicorn. I'm sorry. It's for little kids, and that's
old
it.
people.
And old people.
So, and that is what I will say. And we will get this weekend, St. Patrick's Day weekend, we will get requests for The Unicorn.
Many times.
And Danny Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Boy I will play to an extent. The Unicorn, I just say, listen, man, I played a Unicorn for little kids and old people, and that's it. I'm not fucking playing it otherwise. My wife loves the Unicorn song, loves it, and I know she cannot wait.
Sorry, Katie.
Yeah, I know. She cannot wait until Regina can turn around and be like, Daddy, play the Unicorn song, because no matter what, I'm going to fucking play it for my daughter. Like, God damn it. I won't play it for Katie, but I will play it for Regina when she gets to that point and asks for it. So no, that's a really good fucking call there with the Unicorn song.
That's my least favorite.
Yes. Joe, what is your least favorite Irish song?
Oh, so many to choose from.
Said the jazz, the gypsy jazz player.
Yeah, anything with accordion. Yeah. I just can't handle it.
Oh God.
So you're not a Bogside Rogues fan, is what you're saying here.
No comment.
Okay. So here's the thing. Joe probably has a song in mind, but knowing Joe, he doesn't know the name of the song.
Totally acceptable, Joe. Don't worry. Don't.
True.
Here's oh yeah, there's another fucking bug flying.
That's the same one. It's a
Oh, it was okay. Here's another like inner band thing. Sometimes I turn to Joe. I'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna do this song." I'm like, "By the way, it goes this way," and I gotta sing the melody for him. the best was like,
Yeah, it's true. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So sometimes I was like,
I don't know.
he'll know the melody and he'll be like, "No, I know which one this is." I'm like, "All right, good. All right." So,
Fake my ways to this one. All right, cool.
well, it's good. So my personal least favorite Irish song at this point in time, after doing this for so fucking long, is Celtic Symphony.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Number one, it's overplayed. Number two, nobody is sticking anything up anybody's ass. It's up the raw, not up the ass. No, well,
some people,
which is fine if that's what you're into, but that's not what it's about. Like people will be like, play the up the ass song. I'm like, there is no Irish song about up the ass. It's not. It's up the raw, meaning up the IRA. It is the fight song for the Celtics United, which is okay. But like, it's just, I'm fucking over it. I don't want to do fucking Celtic Symphony. We will play it a bunch this weekend. We'll play Whiskey in a Jar 100 times. We'll play Celtic Symphony 100 times. It's fine, but that's when it's work. I am just so over Celtic Symphony. But yes, we play. Like, I actually did you see that? Did you guys notice on Sunday the woman getting really pissed off at me?
No.
Yeah. There was a woman because she came up and say, "Play up the raw." Like, you know, I wanted to be like, tell me what the actual name of the fucking song is.
Name the song.
You know what I mean? I knew what she was talking about, but she's like, you know, and then like in the middle of the set, she's like, "Are you gonna play up the raw?" I'm like, "We're getting to it. Well, how long? I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? Like, come on. Like, I'm
At the very
like,
end.
Can
All right.
can I just fucking work here? Like, leave me alone." But and that's what we did, and we did it at the very end. So, but yeah, so those are my top 3 Irish songs, and then my least favorite Irish songs. So, Joe, do you have anything else to say about Irish music?
Oh gosh, I have my violin. I could say it with my violin.
Do it.
Oh, you
Let's
could
do
do
it.
it.
Let's do
Do
it.
it, Joe.
This is a first
you on the spot.
on the Country Hipster podcast.
I wish I had an accordion to accompany you.
Joe Arnold is our first musical guest on the Country
Wow.
Hipster podcast. So Joe's gonna play a tune for us. Joe, let's hear it, man. What are you playing?
Yeah, I'll play one of the ones we do with the band. One of my compositions called "One for the Road."
There you
There
go.
you go,
All
yeah.
right.
One time. All right, can you hear it? Okay.
We can
Yep,
hear it.
yep.
Sounds great.
You start the tempo?
All right.
All right. Yeah. So that was
Nice,
called
Joe.
that
Nice.
was called "And One for the Road." Joe wrote that song completely. He trusts us idiot musicians to play his beautiful compositions, which I really appreciate. One day we have to record that for sure, and get that on an album. Maybe we'll do another album. You think we should do another album?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We're thinking about it. It's been a while. So, Joe, that was fucking great. And that's one of my favorite songs to play with you. And it's also really good at like the beginning of sets, and then we go into like some other stuff. It's a really good like fucking. It sets the mood for what we're doing. So I really do appreciate you in writing that and bringing that to us, and that is great, man. I fucking love that song. So Brian, anything else you have to say about Irish music?
No, I was gonna say like if we had gotten 6 songs to I would definitely gone with Thousands Are Sailing, Back Home in Derry. And I think, I'm trying to think of maybe Whistles in the Wind. I like that a lot.
Whistles in the Wind is a really good one. Yeah.
So like those 3, I really love playing those.
Yep. Whistles in the Wind's like one of those ones that's
really... If we go to 10, I could... No.
Yeah, I know. Whistles in the Wind is a really hard song for me to sing. It's definitely... It's not in a key that I can't sing in. It's just that it's at an upper register. Like, Joe, does that make sense? Like... To be like a key that I'm very comfortable in, except that it's at a level where I'm just like, fuck, I usually don't sing up here. That's like an early show song that we have to do, because we try to do it too late. I can't pull it off because singing for 4 hours it gets there. But no, that is a beautiful Flogging Molly song. Yeah. That's probably one of my favorite Flogging Molly songs. Like especially when you're talking about like people that you've lost or that aren't with us anymore. Right, I actually like that, and everybody goes, oh, if I leave this world alive because my uncle died or my aunt died or my mom died or something like that. Like people are always like identifying with that, and it is a good song. It is a good song for that. But for me personally, I think Whistles the Wind is a much more beautiful and tribute type of song to someone you've lost in your life than If I Leave This World Alive. Personally, but that's my opinion. I'm just some fucking dude who plays guitar and has a weekly podcast.
What he's trying to say is listen to Flogging Molly, kids. Listen to Flogging Molly. Yes, they're a great band. That's what he's trying to say. So and also listen to the Birmingham Six, and once again you can see the Birmingham Six this weekend. Saturday we were at the Bristol AOH. Excuse me. Sunday we're doing both Doonies in New Jersey. Delran from 12 to 4, and then Voorhees from 5 to 9. And then you probably won't see us for a while because that's what we do. We're like fucking Batman. We like jump in and we do our thing and then we just fucking disappear. You don't know where we're at. Yeah, you have no idea. Next week will be another Random Record episode, and I welcome our friend from another Philadelphia band, Megan from the Natterjacks. She is on the podcast to discuss the album The Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl. So it's another Random Record episode. I did explain this a few episodes back about how, like, in case you guys, I don't know, actually, I didn't even ask you guys that. Do you guys watch the podcast? Are you familiar with the Country Hipster? Oh, Joe, I saw him, but I looked from Joe. Joe has no idea. Joe, have you ever seen the Country Hipster podcast?
No, I'm going to have to check it out more.
No, but this is my favorite episode. I'll tell you that right now.
What about you, Brian?
I've seen a few episodes.
You've seen a few episodes. Okay, all right.
I have your Instagram and your Facebook thing and your blah, blah, blah.
All right,
so
cool.
I see the clips.
Cool. All right, Joe, you want to, so yes, next week's episode is going to be the Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl. And Joe, what else you want to tell us once again about Soul Force Arts?
Yeah. So, goodness me. So you just go to soulforcearts.com and you can learn about my book. You can learn about the online community and how to stay involved. You can sign up for my newsletter and get a free mini course and how to discover your artistic purpose. And yeah, I'm hoping to start a global movement.
Nice.
To help artists connect to their soul force. So I love doing it. So I'm really happy to meet new people.
Very cool. Nice. Brian, anything else you want to plug there?
Just want to plug all the Irish bands that are going to be working hard this weekend. The Birmingham Six, the Shanties, the Natterjacks, the Stall the Digger, all those guys, Bogsides, Jameson, all of them, they're going to be working hard this weekend. So get out and see them.
All right. All right, cool. Actually, Joe, you might be interested in our episode in 2 weeks because next week's episode is going to be the Random Record episode with Megan from the Natterjacks. But the week after that, we're back to our regular format. Adam should be back here in the Ottsville Record Garage for a regular episode of the Country Hipster Podcast, which is part of our 50 records. And we are actually going to be discussing Neutral Milk Hotel, An Airplane Over the Sea.
Oh.
That's what I remember you.
That's a good album.
That is a good idea. Yeah, see. So maybe you'll actually start watching the Country Hipster Podcast.
What is that?
What Neutral?
no clue.
Are you not familiar with that record?
No.
Dude. So
I'll have to
actually,
watch that episode to get
you
familiarized.
will. Which actually, Joe, that reminds me. I remember one time we were driving home from a show. You were driving. We played up in Bethlehem, which is funny because I live a hell of a lot closer to the Sands Casino in Bethlehem now than I did when we were doing it like all those years ago. There was a song I remember off of the album that you told me that the Birmingham Six should play. Do you remember what that song was?
No, so long ago.
Okay, well, you'll have to remind me. We're going to be recording that episode in about 2 weeks, so you'll have to remind me between now and then, and I'll have to talk about that when Adam's back here in the Ottsville Record Garage for a regular episode of the Country Hipster Podcast. And season 1 still continues. We are going. We have redefined the meaning of a season. Joe, since you're not familiar, this is our 51st episode of the season. And we're going to, I figured it out today, we're going to probably have 64 episodes in season 1 of our podcast here. So we're going till fucking June. Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. But we set it up like this, and I didn't know what I was doing, and this is where we're at. But
Look where we are.
When I'm committed to something, I fucking stick with it for the most part.
He does.
Not everything, hence the fact that I'm on my second marriage. But
I didn't want to say it, but
you
went there.
I stick with most things. But if you guys have nothing else, we're good.
I'm good.
All right. Well, then
Good.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming on.
Zooming
This was
in,
a good
Joe.
time. And it is time to